Henry de Vere's Stackpole's romantic novel, The Blue Lagoon, takes Emmeline and Richard and casts them adrift when their ship catches fire in mid-ocean.
There's blasting powder in that pole! I'm going loaded!
What was that?
The ship! I'll be in pieces!
After days at sea, their lifeboat washes ashore on a fertile island, where the two children must learn to survive alone. To film the 1980 version of Stackpole's 1918 novel, Columbia Pictures and producer-director Randall Kleiser have flown their entire cast and crew to a location 3,200 miles from the heart of Hollywood.
When I was working on Grease, I learned a lot about logistics, working with hundreds of extras, working with people who had done the Broadway play, and working with several producers, choreographers. It's a very complicated film. After doing that, I wanted to do something more simple, like a story about two people on an island. And now I found that it isn't quite as simple as I had imagined, but it's closer to something that I've wanted to do for a long time.
Here on Nanuya Levu, the filmmakers are recreating the classic adventure, The Blue Lagoon, and finding their own experiences and adventure in filmmaking. Nanuya Levu, a privately owned island in Fiji, has no roads, no electricity, and no indoor plumbing. A far cry from the crowded campus of the USC Film School in Los Angeles, where director Randall Kleiser received his degree in filmmaking. The Philadelphia-born Kleiser recently directed the phenomenally successful musical Grease, the third highest grossing movie of all time.
About 8 years ago when I went to USC Film School, I was in the library once and I saw this book on the shelf called The Blue Lagoon, and I've always had kind of an interest in the tropics, so I thought I'd read it and see what it was all about. I didn't even know that there was a movie already made in 1948.
The Blue Lagoon is actually a remake. The first version is a rarely seen 1948 British film which starred Gene Simmons and Donald Houston.
Am you trembling?
So are you.
I know. They had not really followed the original novel. Probably because in 1948 you couldn't really deal with a lot of the issues that are in the novel.
I feel so funny in my stomach.
Me too.
My heart's beating so fast.
Mine too.
In the story, the boy has to just learn about sex all by himself, you know, and they both have to experience it all alone. I had to go through it all by myself in a way too, but yet I had all my friends and peers to talk to.
We're the same age, you know, and I'm going through the same problems as she goes through. I can say, oh, well, I know what she's going through because I went through that myself, or I am going through that myself.
My first choice for the role of Emmeline all along was Brooke Shields, and the night we had the cast and crew party for Grease, Brooke came as my guest there, and I gave her the novel to read. She was doing other pictures, so we had a big talent search trying to find people to fit the bill of that role. And I really never found anyone that was as good as her, and she became available, and so she ended up playing the role as I always hoped.
What are you looking at?
Your muscles.
What about... I got called in one day through an agent that I know to go try out for this movie or go have an audition. And I didn't have any acting experience at all, I mean, as of none. It ended up that I was one of the first ones there and ended up to be one of the last ones to leave. And then I got called back again, told to come in with a bathing suit and to have the actual screen test. Now that was funny. What they did was they took us in and they sat us down on the floor of this office, this little tiny office. They took the lamp off the desk, put it on the floor, took the lampshade off, grabbed the flour from the shelf over on the window, put it down on the floor, and put us up against the filing cabinets in our bathing suits. Nothing happened for about a month or so. I didn't really expect anything to happen, and then all of a sudden I got called up again. You want to know what I hate about this place? I'll tell you. There's all these things I can't figure out, and nobody to ask about. And then 2 days later, they told me I had the part. The next day I was flown out.
I'm finding that the chemistry between them is working out very well, and I think that together they look very good on the screen.
When I work with older adults, they kind of don't know how to treat me sometimes. You know, they don't really know how to treat me as a kid or as more of an adult. And so if we're more in the same age group, it seems easier. It's kind of more fun because we have more things in common too.
The summer experience from this whole thing is very amazing because it's an all-Australian crew, and they also have all Fijians helping out with the crew. And one Fijian in particular, Navalu, will take me out and he's showing me how to live off the land, basically. I mean, actually be the part. And it's just amazing. It's just completely amazed me.
And at one point we needed some natives to be in a cannibal ritual. In our research we found the actual tattoos that were necessary and painted them on all the Fijians from our crew. The chief of the tribe choreographed the cannibal ritual which we used in the film, which is an authentic one. And the chant that they are singing in Fijian means our enemies are floating ducks. And this is what they would chant before they would destroy someone and then eat them. We came out here and we're about 4.5 hours by ship off the mainland, and that takes a lot of doing. But fortunately, there's a seaplane here in Fiji, so we fly the film back and forward every day. We fly people back and forward all the time, and so forth. We have ships out here. We brought out a large sort of cruise ship, which we have about 30 of our people living on, and which we do our cooking on. We've got a whole fleet of small boats, including an airboat from Florida, which they use for a wind machine, which is semi-portable, of course. We've had 2 sailing ships here. We were quite lucky that the eye of the wind turned out to be here at the time that we were filming, and so we've been using that. We recruited our crew from Australia, where the film industry is very young, and using some young Americans from USC Film Department and other people who we handpicked so that we could get a group of crew members who are really into what's going on here and are willing to put up with the unusual living conditions that we have here. We've carved a little city out of a corner of the island made of tents because before we got here it was just a barren island.
This is such a different crew. I mean, I've never been so close to a crew before because usually you just see them in the morning until about 7 o'clock or something and then you leave. So I think that'll probably be my main memory.
Randall just sits you down and he just tells you what he sort of wants out of you, and he will discuss the scene as long as you want. He'll let you take as much time as you want, and he's like a best friend to me on this movie.
So in addition to making a movie here, I'm also sort of like the mayor of this city because anything that really happens, I'm ultimately responsible for.
For everyone involved, the production of the Blue Lagoon has been an adventure in filmmaking, the adventure of a lifetime.